Alright, so this is Generation for Leads, and we're just going to give you a bit of information on mobility and myofascial release. So mobility is getting effective increase in range of motion. So that's the ability to go further and deeper into better positions. So when you're running, to take longer, greater stride length. When you're squatting, to go deeper. When you're setting up for a deadlift, being able to get a tighter back, because you have more mobility on the muscles in play. Now, myofascial release is just a fancy word for massage or self-massage using tools like foam rollers, cross balls, spiky balls, and various degrees of peanuts and other contraptions. Also voodoo bands, stuff like that. Now, what we've got to try and do, a lot of people think it's all about strength, and it's not. Strength is important, but strength over effective practical range is more important. So let's say, for example, you're one of these pussies in the gym who just does knee bends instead of squats. Now, as soon as you go down out of your normal quarter squat range of motion, you will have no effective strength in that deeper range of motion. So when you have to actually squat properly and go at least hip crease to knee, or preferably hamstring to calf, you will be weak as piss, and you will probably get injured if you try and get back up out of the hole. Now, someone who has better effective range of motion, will be able, or strength across effective range of motion, will be able to get down into that deep position and squat back out of it. So just stretching on its own isn't enough. Now, I use stretching as a cornerstone of what I do, so I get people who basically can't do a bodyweight squat, teach them how to do mobility with them to get them into positions where they can squat effectively with a tight back, hamstring onto calf. And then once I've gotten that degree of mobility, I'll start to gradually load it. First of all, using a kettlebell or a plate, kind of like a goblet squat, and then moving a bar onto overhead, back, or front rack. Now, all we're trying to do when we try and get better range of motion is look at the muscles that are affecting that range of motion and lengthen them. So typically for a squat, it's going to be ankle dorsiflexion. So you have tight ankles, so you have to sit too far back and round your back. That's why people wear lifting shoes, because it elevates the heel and gives you effectively more dorsiflexion. What's up, Squidge? Oh, why don't you have a look what the nice people think? Tell them. Yeah. So what we do next is check for hamstring tightness, because hamstring and adductor tightness will generally have too much pull on the pubic symphysis and pull your hips under when you're squatting, giving you the dreaded excessive bum weak, or bum weak that's too early. A little tiny bit of bum weak right at the bottom of the squat isn't going to kill anybody. But if you bum wink in as soon as you get to parallel, then there's a problem with going below parallel. Now, if you're running, this goes out to all our rugby league players, soccer players, triathletes and pure runners. And what you find is if your hamstrings are tight, you won't be able to reach very far forward in your running stroke. And if your hip flexors and your rec fem, which is the long head of the quad that crosses the knee, if that's tight, you won't be able to get much kick behind you. Now, I always analogize when you watch the top cross-country guys, they have muck all up their back because their kick out the back of the running stroke is so high, the shit off the spikes flicks up into the air and onto their backs. And that's what you want. That's a nice free rec fem and hip flexor. Now, if you want to run really fast and you don't have good ranges of motion in the gastroc, the hamstring, the glute, to get that nice kick out the front, you're not going to get a very long stride at the front. And if you don't have good mobility on the hip flexor and rec fem, then you're not going to get much up the back. You're not going to be able to kick back very far. So you're going to limit the range of motion you can apply force through. Now, if you want to work on these things and find out more, have a look at other videos we've already posted, because we've got lots of content on that. But basically what I'm trying to say is if you use a combination of mobility work and loaded mobility work, so once you can get into these positions and stretches, add a little bit of weight so you can get a bit deeper, and a bit of myofascial release. So if you have tight spots in your hip flexors or in your hamstrings, you can rub them on a ball or a foam roller to help release the knots. So stretching helps get your tissue more length. Yeah, it does pop it, yeah. And your spiky ball, your massage from an individual like myself, Aaron Casely, Big Jim Mason, Karen Dawson, that's going to help unknot the tissues, break up any adhesions in there, you know. And that's when you can typically feel a knot. Stretching won't move a knot. Myofascial release will. Stretching will just lengthen the tissue. You can get more information on all of these. There are a lot of other good practitioners. You know, they're just ones that I've typically used. I know Dominique Reed as well. She's pretty decent. I've known Dominique a long time. Lee Marshall does a bit of massage too. But yeah, just to mention a few practitioners in Leeds that are good. Yeah, so all in all, we need myofascial release to help get rid of knots. We need stretching and mobility work, moving into loaded stretching to get us a good range of motion. And then once we've got that range of motion, we need to exercise across it. So if you example back to squats, if you work on your mobility to get a really good ass to grass bodyweight squat, but when you squat with a bar on your back, you only ever go to parallel, you will only have effective strength down to parallel. That new range of motion you have that you don't use, you'll still be piss weak across that. So you start off using light work in that new range and gradually work up till you can use your full weight all the way through the range. Then you'd have a ridiculous amount more power output. And your bell curve of strength for that exercise would be dramatically better because you'd have a longer range of motion. You'd accrue more muscle because you could accrue force and apply constant tension for longer across a greater range. Right, I'm going to go because my little friend wants to go play, don't you? Say bye-bye, Lucy. Bye-bye. There you go, that's near enough. Foam rolling matters, doesn't it, Elise? You tell them. Yes. Make it count.